Do you want to wear it? That is so cool. Oh
Wow.
my goodness, you already have the move down. I still get nervous every single time I go into a hospital. I'm always afraid that I'm never going to be pretty enough or smart enough or thin enough. But it's the kids that make me confident, because I don't think I ever go on a visit where a little girl doesn't grab my hair, just literally hands on my face and go, "You're beautiful." And that's the most heartwarming thing.
The minute I walked into the room, in the costume, they're like, "Oh my gosh, where's your prince? Where's Olaf? Where'd you come from? How'd you get here?" You just see this instantaneous magic just happen.
Hi, Kylie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Let's get it started by introducing yourself and your background, journey to founding the Movement of Magic, right? Basically, I
Yes.
understand this is a group of princess, right?
Yes. So it all started with one princess dress, is how we like to start the story. But once upon a time, I was a college student in New York City, and I was doing a lot of different volunteer opportunities, working with different vulnerable populations. And I felt so strongly about continuing this work, but I always really loved working with children. So I wanted to find a way that I could work with children in a really unique way that could help kind of boost morale and give back to my community. So I was with my parents one day, and they were flipping through the TV channels, and Frozen was on. And my mom just made a passing mom comment and said, "Oh, you kind of look like Elsa." And it was just a little epiphany. What if I went into children's hospitals and dressed up like a princess and tried to give a little bit of magic to the kids in the hospital and brighten up their day? So I texted some of my friends and asked them if they thought it was a good idea, and they encouraged me to start an online crowdfunding campaign. So I talked a little bit about who I was, what my experience was with volunteering, and what I wanted to do, and allowed people to donate to purchase a costume and gifts for the kids and activities. And we originally hoped that we would raise between $500 to $1,000. That would get us more than enough with our costumes and to get us started. And in a little over a week, we raised over $5,000. And
Wow.
we couldn't believe it. People were so
Mm,
receptive to the idea because it seems so simple to put on a costume, go into a hospital, and spend time with the kids. But really, no one was doing it in this capacity. So a week later, we figured out that we had something. We started reaching out to hospitals. We went to our first hospital that had 202 rooms in it. And we ended up going to every single one, and we're there for over 4 hours. And it was those interactions with the children and the families and healthcare workers that I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So we went home and we figured out, okay, if this is what we want to do, how do we take the next step? So at the time, as I mentioned, I was 20 years old. I was a college sophomore. I connected with business professors. They helped me write a business plan. I added a business minor, and we just started creating these ideas of what this could be, because we just saw the need firsthand. So we decided that we wanted to really empower the college student community to give back in this way. So we started reaching out to anyone that we could think of to share our story. We ended up having a news network come with us into a hospital, film the behind the scenes, and post it online. And it ended up getting 75 million views. It was
wow.
completely life changing, totally broke our
Yes.
website and
Yes.
everything. And that's how we created the chapter system. So, flash forward 7 years later, we are now a national nonprofit organization headquartered in New York City. We have 30 chapters around the United States with more than 1,000 college student volunteers. And in the last 7 years, we've served over 100,000 children.
Got you. It sounds like you already answered my second question too, right?
Yes.
How did you come up with the idea, right? You already explained.
Hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I heard a lot, some people did do this kind of activity to
Hmm.
make children in a hospital happy, but they do just one or two times. I heard that kind of things a lot, right? but
Mhm.
usually interview the business people on my podcast. This is the first time for me to interview the like, I mean, the leader of the princess, right? But business is the same thing. People talk about same business model, same idea. They do it just one time, try one time, second time, they can continue
Mhm.
6 months. But some people, they can execute the idea and develop, evolve the idea, and then continue sustain the activity 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. Then what people call it the success, right?
Mhm.
The same thing. I
Exactly.
can feel the same thing about you. You came up with the idea, but did you have, I mean, the when you launched this organization, did you have a co-founder?
I did. So I had my college roommate at the time, really helped me see the early beginnings of this could be more than just a project. This could be a business. And she is now, she's a teacher now for children in elementary school. But, at the very beginning, she was really a big proponent of let's take this seriously and see what we could do here. Because for me, I just wanted to help people. I never had the
Yeah.
intention of starting a business. But it was really the guidance of friends and family. My business professors, my fiance now, flash forward 7 years ago, he was not my fiance, but at the time, he was such a big supporter of what I was doing and said, you really need to think about the long term perspective because if this was just a project, it would have lasted a few years and then probably fizzled out. But by making it a business, it's become about so much more than just myself and my friends doing this. It's become something that has changed the life of thousands of people.
I see. So I thought the Woman of the Magic is a non for profit. Is it the
It
business
is.
or it is not?
It
It
is
is
a
not
nonprofit. Mhm.
non for profit. But did you call it the business?
I did. And I think it's because once you become the executive director and the founder of a nonprofit organization, you learn
Mm,
that it is a business. You're
mm,
not trying to chase revenue every year, but you are trying to bring in donations and you do need to make it something that's sustainable. And
mm,
unfortunately, these projects don't fund themselves. So
right.
I think that I really approach it in a business sense that has a really important social,
Uh,
charitable aspect to it.
Financially sustainable, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
got you, got you. So yeah, I mean, usually I ask a business model, business people. I mean, the discussion all the time. What problem are you solving now? But on the surface and the eye level, I understand. But can you tell us a little bit about the interesting backstory? How, I mean, you help those children at the hospital and then make them
Mhm.
happy.
Absolutely. So when a child is hospitalized, your conversations no longer revolve around soccer practice or play or seeing your friends. It really becomes focused on what can we do to get this child better. And in the hospital setting, as a child, that can be really overwhelming and scary and traumatizing.
Yes.
And that's why there are people in the hospital specifically focused on creative play and quality of life to help make sure that children still have the aspects of childhood that are exciting and
Mm,
social and really boost self esteem. So, what we really want to do is create moments of time in the hospital for children that are just focused on play, that are just focused on having fun, and are just focused on, boosting self confidence and self esteem because there is a direct tie to quality of life to the effectiveness of medical treatment. So we try to take a whole, well rounded approach. I'm certainly not qualified to give medical advice or medical treatment, but I'm definitely qualified to sit on the floor of a hospital and do coloring pages or arts and crafts and sing alongs. And if that could help boost the efficiency of the medical treatment a child's receiving, why not do that? And you really just see for a lot of these kids, there are so many experiences where we go into the hospital and we have these really impactful moments. And a parent will say to us, this is the first time I've seen my child smile in days or weeks or months. And to be able to have that opportunity is such a profound privilege that we're so grateful for.
yeah. I love that approach. I mean, not only help the children feel happy at the moment, but also I
Mhm.
think it help with I mean, the recovering process, right? The fighting
Exactly.
disease. Yes, yes. Okay.
Exactly. Well, there's the adage that says laughter is the best medicine.
Yes,
And, we want to write our own prescription of magic and just be there to connect with the children in need and for the families to just give them a moment of respite and friendship and support and laughter during a time that can be really scary and overwhelming.
agree, agree. Maybe more effective, stronger than the
Mhm.
medicine. Yeah,
Right.
right. I agree. Agree. Uh, so, can you tell us a little bit more about your activity? Yeah, like, for
Mhm.
example, how many volunteer do you have? How do you recruit them? And then how do you finance your operation, et cetera, et cetera?
Absolutely. So, a little bit about the activities of what we do when we're in the hospital. So, we like to call it creative programming. So, anything that you can think of that is a creative program. So, arts and crafts, music, literature, storybooks, sing alongs. But a lot of the vehicle through which we do this is through acting and by portraying famous characters from fairy tales and superheroes. And it really brings moments of magic into the hospital. And we're kind of flipping what is typically done for children in need on its head. We don't have to take the kids anywhere to transport them into a magical place. We're able to bring that to them. So for us, a lot of the times we're seeing children that are really critically or chronically ill that otherwise aren't getting these experiences. So we will dress up as princesses and superheroes and walk through the hospitals. And for the children and the parents and the healthcare workers, our goal is just to brighten their day a little bit. So the way that we do that is by employing college student volunteers. And right now, as I mentioned, we have over 1,000 throughout the country. I think we've had 1,300 to date go through the program. And I feel really passionate about engaging this community and demographic specifically because college students are at this really interesting point where some of them want to work with children professionally. Some of them want to work in the medical field. Some of them want to work in business and marketing, but are never given the experience to go and do it rather than
Yes.
just sit in a classroom and learn about it. So it's a really great supplement to the education that they're getting. And we really use social media and online marketing to try to connect with these students that are incredibly passionate about helping their community and partnering with the colleges and universities to provide them the resources and tools to do so. And when it comes to funding the operation, I mean, that's the hardest question for a nonprofit. It is constant because our expenses are high. We have programming expenses from costuming to supplies to training to business expenses like salaries and marketing and insurance, the more boring things, but it takes a lot to get the wheels to spin. So for us, we are constantly grassroots fundraising. I would say about 70% of our annual revenue comes in through general donations. And our average donation size is $35 in the United States, which is not a significant amount of money, but that's how many people love and care about the organization. Other than general donations, we work a lot with corporate sponsors and general family foundations or public foundations and through grants. So we are constantly working to try to bring the funds in because they go
Mhm.
out as quickly as they come in our organization.
Yes. In Asia, I have seen I'm not sure whether it's new
Mhm.
phenomenon or not, but the company, they're providing services to help the fundraise for
Oh,
non-profit.
amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I have seen
That's,
that. Yeah, so
yeah.
they get a little bit of fee after, I
Hmm.
mean, when they make a success fundraising, but
Right.
they provided their services. I think that's complementary, helpful because
Hmm.
like you are basically running an operation of your activity and foundation, but you need a lot of different skill set to raise the money from the
Yeah.
people and then operating and then make it beautiful.
Hmm.
You play the magic and then too many things for
Exactly.
you. So I think it is still maybe very useful to work with
Hmm.
somebody who are engaged that kind of activity full time, right?
Absolutely. I mean, fundraising is a full-time job and it's so
Right.
necessary to keep the organization going. So nonprofits have it tough. You really have to be a jack of all trades, but we've been so
Mm,
lucky to establish such a wonderful team from our volunteers to our board of directors and everyone in between. Our team just loves what we do so much that
mm.
we've been so lucky to be able to grow so significantly in the last few years.
Yeah. But these days, another aspect is these days, company, they are filing report, ESG, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
what they are doing for the benefit of society and community. So
Yep.
they have to do their homework. So they need to file their report. So you
Yes.
need to maybe high level is substance, but when you focus on fundraising, you probably to focus on those large company who need to file their report, and then they need to actually find out some meaningful activity to help, right?
Mhm.
Mm,
Exactly. I think that especially when you are a nonprofit, but I think even over the course of the last few years, consumers are smart. People that are
mm,
donating are smart and they want to know what their money is impacting. And for us, we want our donors to be able to trust us to say, I know if I'm giving you $25, that's a big donation for me. I want to make sure that it's impacting the kids in a significant way and
yeah.
that this organization will be around for a long time. So something that we really pride ourselves on is really stretching that dollar to be as impactful as possible. And for me, I remember when, we were doing bake sales to try to sustain the organization. And I'd make $20 at a bake sale selling cupcakes and I'd take it to the bank in a little frozen lunchbox. And that's how I'd make my deposits. And I remember what it was like to say, I don't have the money to get us through next week. What are we going to do? So we really try to make every dollar stretch as far as it can. And right now, for every donation that is given, for every $5 donated, we're able to help a child in need. That's how efficient we've become with our funding. And we want our people that are donating to us in our community to trust that we are making those donations as impactful as possible.
Got it. Yeah. uh so we are living in the very strange and challenging time now. So how
Yes.
has the pandemic impacted your activity?
The pandemic has completely thrown us for a loop. It was really difficult at the beginning, especially. We were lucky because when we work with medically vulnerable children, they are already um, acclimated to living in isolation. For a child that's going through a bone marrow transplant, most of them have to be isolated for a month to 3 months. So we had already created virtual programming to help bridge that gap and fill that need for children that were going through situations like that. But we had to make the really difficult decision to say, okay, we have to stop going into hospitals out of concern for our volunteers, for the families we serve, and for healthcare workers. So in early March of 2020, we sat down as a board and we made that heartbreaking decision to pause in-person visits. And then we turned to our volunteers and kind of said, what do you want from us? Do you want us to pause completely, or would you like to continue doing this remotely via technology? And our volunteers just blow me away. They completely rallied around us, and we were able to create a remote task force of volunteers across the country
Yes.
that were doing everything virtually. And for them, college students were having to evacuate mid semester. They thought that they would be going home for an extra week of spring break, but they never returned in the spring. So for us, our volunteers really stepped up and they helped ensure that we were able to get through this difficult period. And now we are, I think, 15, 16 months into the pandemic, and we're starting to come out on the other side where we are able to start resuming in-person visits again. So we're getting there. We're so close, and we were able to adapt and change and learn some lessons along the way that we will definitely be keeping with us moving forward.
Great. Yeah. So another next question is what is your long-term goal and then vision for the moment of magic?
I would say our long-term goal is to continue providing our services to children in need, but providing them in a way that is more impactful. So for us, that looks like growth. Right now we have 30 chapters, but the more chapters we have, the more volunteers we have, the more hospitals and families we can serve. So right now we are all located in the United States, but there are children in need everywhere. So there really is no limit to the potential that we have for impact. So we're constantly thinking about scalability and growth and furthering that impact for children in need through both growth of our chapters, but also improving the way that we are actually providing these visits.
Gotcha. My last question is my favorite question. You are doing the amazing things now. So I think this question is very relevant to what you're doing now. So who is nicest person you have ever met in your life and why, except for your family member? Yeah.
Okay, I like the caveat except for my family members because
Because
uh,
otherwise everybody talk about
mhm,
wife and husband because
yes,
you
exactly.
must say that.
Well, my future husband is a very nice person, and so is my whole family. And I'll just
Yeah.
caveat it with that. But I would say, I've been so lucky to meet so many people over the course of the last few years that have been so impactful on myself and the organization. But I have, for as long as I can remember, honestly, since I was a little girl, I've loved Taylor Swift. I don't know, I'm sure you're familiar, worldwide celebrity. But growing up, I grew up in Pennsylvania, about 30 minutes from where she did. And I just remember being in like elementary school and seeing her perform and thinking it was the most amazing thing. And a few years ago, I actually had the opportunity to connect with her in person and tell her about a moment of magic. And I know that her mom is a cancer survivor. I believe she's battling right now. And this is someone that's been on every worldwide stage that you can ever imagine. But when I was with her, I could tell that she was really listening to what I was saying and was so receptive and was thanking me for my work. And the way that she made me feel, which was comfortable and safe and empowered and inspired, if I could provide a sliver of that to someone else, truly, then I will have achieved my dream. So she was beyond kind and beyond um, anything I could have imagined. And like I said, I've idolized her now for a decade and a half. So
Mhm.
to meet your hero and have them treat you that nicely was a dream come true. So I would have to say she's the nicest person I've ever met.
Yes. Yeah. I think yeah. So we live in a world we can become happy when we return the
Mhm.
favor to each other, right? Help each other, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even just a sliver of the happiness that, she's provided myself and the connection that I've been able to form through her music. If I could give a sliver of that to someone else, then my work is done.
Okay. Great. Great. Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
the for your amazing story, beautiful story. I hope that you can keep doing that, continue to grow your activity and organization.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's been amazing to connect with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.